Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah. I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. My beloved brothers and sisters, I'm so happy to give you this morning reflection. And let's talk about getting organized. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said the more we are organized, the more we can generate power to change reality. The difference between a Category 1 hurricane and a Category 5 hurricane is its level of organization. The minister says it was the degree of organization within that storm that raises its level from a tropical depression to Category 1 to Category 5. Now, brothers and sisters, don't think that our condition that we're in, our disunity, our self-hatred, our inability in some cases to get anything done, isn't purposeful. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that we must remember and never forget that the ultimate aim and denial objective of the United States government towards black people is that we must never become effectively organized. This is why our woes in becoming public are usually detrimental and generally bring about the demise of our organizations. So we should be very careful how we criticize each other or criticize our organizations in this public forum. To do so is to open ourselves up to our open enemy who exploits all of those things, those differences that we have between us, whether it be envy, jealousy, or just raw competition that sometimes gets out of control. We must always remember that this isn't a zero-sum game when it comes to us. A zero-sum game is like this. In game theory, a zero-sum game means that if there's a winner, there has to be a loser. And this is how we've operated within our own community. If you win, I lose. And that's at the root of this envy. And when you multiply that or factor that with our self-hatred that we've been indoctrinated with, then automatically then we start destroying one another. People like to use the analogy of crabs in a bucket. I don't like to insult crabs. Negroes are worse than crabs in a bucket. The crab in the bucket, one crab is almost at the top and the other one seems to pull it down. But what is the motive of the crab that's pulling it down? The crab that's pulling it down is the one that wants to get out the bucket too, and is pulling at whatever is over it. But Negroes are different. Some of us are trying to climb out of that bucket, but a Negro, who is the creation of our slave master and our slave master's children, pulls you down, because if you succeed, you and I are proof that we don't have to waddle in the cesspool of mediocrity. And sometimes we don't want people to succeed because we want misery loves company, and we want to remain miserable, and we don't want anybody to shine. And we seem to take great joy when some of our great ones have a fall. We take great joy in that. And that is a result of our self-hatred and our envy and our jealousy. Let's move on from that. If we really want to get organized, then we've got to set some goals. And setting a goal, I'll define it thusly. A goal is something that's desirable, it's attainable, but you haven't put a timeline on it. In other words, it's general, you know. It's kind of, we want to make our neighborhood a safe and decent place to live. Okay, that's good. And we should be about that business. But you need to constrain that by time, which is an objective. So it's something that's desirable, something that's attainable, but you put a timeline on it. So you want to make the neighborhood a safe and decent place to live. We want to reduce crime by 10% by the end of 2022. That's an objective. Now, within that objective, to achieve that objective, you have to have certain tasks that you put in sequence in order to achieve the objective, in order to achieve the goal. Again, the goal is to make our neighborhoods a safe and decent place to live. Our objective is to reduce crime by, say, 10% by 2020, end of 2022. And then you begin to put together the tasks necessary. So let's see. How about prevention of crime? What tasks are associated with the prevention of crime? Intervention when it comes to, say, conflict resolution. What measures do you have to put in place in order to do that? And then to end recidivism. What do you do when the OGs come out of prison and they truly want to not go back to the life that put them in prison in the first place or in jail in the first place? Then what do we do in terms of people coming back? What tasks are assigned? And within those tasks now, you've got to have what resources are necessary in order to get that task done. And that plan, what is the plan that make up that task? And to organize a plan, there are about 5 things that you must manage. We must manage. We got to manage human resources. We have to manage budgetary resources. We have to manage material resources. We have to manage time. Scheduling is very important. And then in this age of information, we have to be able to manage data, collection of and management of data. Now, once you've accomplished these tasks, and then you have to have an evaluation aspect or evaluation model so that you're constantly evaluating your tasks, evaluating and seeing that they line up with your objective, and to make sure the objective stays true to the goals, which is, of course, part of your mission and your vision. So these things are very important. Now, moving on from there, we need to talk about community development. Now, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave us self-improvement, the basis for community development. So community can't develop if the individuals who make up the community are not developed themselves. And he gives us, of course, that formula of self-examination, self-analysis, self-correction that leads to the resurrection of the self-accusing spirit, which is really a resurrecting human being that has the ability to listen to the voice within, that you know right from wrong, and nobody has to stand over you and threaten you with punishment. You know already in your mind what you should be doing and not doing. But let's talk about community development. There's 2 approaches that one could have, and heretofore we have taken the other approach, and it really hasn't resulted in really the kind of benefits that we should have. That way is needs-based community development, where we look around and we see everything that we need. We need housing. You know, we need hospitals. We need grocery stores. Yeah, it's true. We need a reduction in crime. It's not safe. That's true. We need green space. Right. We need jobs. Right. Okay. All of that's right. But what happens if we who are the activists, if you will, community, those who have political sagacity or political smarts or policy chops, what happens when we start raising these questions, holding press conferences, holding demonstrations, showing up at meetings and raising all this hell? You know what happens? Because it's needs-based. This is what we need, this is what we need, this is what we need, and you evil people are doing this evil stuff to us, and y'all ain't right. Somebody will come in, they'll listen to what you have to say, and one of these universities or think tanks will write a grant to the Rockefeller Foundation, the Brown Foundation, the Ford Foundation, and they'll get a grant. And they'll come in to either perform a study or to address, in the short term, the very things that the activist community is raising hell about. I call them Captain Save a Negro. They parachute in, they get their master's degree thesis written, they get their PhD dissertation done by studying us like lab rats or crash test dummies, and then they leave. And in that process, the activists The policy wonks, we're pushed out because our people, because of their needs, are going to go where their needs are going to be satisfied, even if it's temporary. It reminds me of a story that a brother who has delivered our newspaper, Final Call newspaper, faithfully over the years. We call him Millions Mile Muhammad. His name is Larry Muhammad. This brother, other than one time where he may be sick once or twice when he's been sick, I don't think he's missed a week of going to get our Final Call, whether it's rain, hail, snow, or earthquakes. He's went and got our Final Call and delivered them around the Southwest region. But he told me a story once. He said, Brother Minister, let me tell you a story. There was a man, he was a salesman. He walks up to a man that's sitting on his porch. The man's sitting, rocking back and forth in his chair. And his dog's sitting next to him. And his dog is moaning. And the salesman said to the man, what's wrong with the dog? He said, well, he's sitting on a nail. He's sitting on a nail. He said, well, why don't he get up off of it? He said, because it doesn't hurt enough. See, we're not going to get up off that nail, brother and sister, till that nail starts hurting us enough. And so now, brothers and sisters, we find ourselves in the awful situation that this nail is about to really hurt, and we need to get up off it. So look, let's take another approach, and I'll go into it in other morning reflections. But the other approach that I like for us to just think about is an asset-based community development approach. Now, that asset-based community development approach says this: there are individuals, associations, and institutions that already exist in our community, even after integration and many of our institutions being abandoned, and many of our associations and individuals being scattered, our talent being scattered. Still, if we would open up our eyes and identify the existing individuals and their skill sets, identify our associations, and identify our institutions that already exist, and organize them and leverage them to address our own needs and attract the resources necessary to do that, then we won't find ourselves in a position of Captain Saber Negro parachuting in, doing what they do, and then leaving us in the lurch like is normally has happened. And then we have what are called community capital. So we have to look at our community capital. What is our human capital? What is our human capabilities? What skill sets do we have? What is our social capital? Meaning, again, going back to those associations of people who interact and have organized themselves, whether it be our fraternities, whether it be our social fellowships, whether it be the Masons, the Shriners, whether it be the church organizations, whether it be the social organizations and community centers and other things that already exist. Then, of course, there's the physical capital. What is our physical capital? What is our green space? What is the physical surroundings that we have? How about our cultural capital, our historic sites, our history, our legacies, things of that nature? What about our political capital? What about our economic or financial capital? So there are capitals that we have to organize, and we have to look at very carefully and put it in its proper perspective so that we can move this thing forward. Those are just a few ideas that we have to have. Again, we have to have the mindset, brothers and sisters, that we find a way, a win-win for everybody in our community that's willing to work and organize and unify. And if we don't, then we're going to continue to be a hamster on a wheel, going around and round and round, creating all of this motion, but going nowhere. So, I say again, our unity generates power to change reality. And I reiterate again what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said. We must remember and never forget that the ultimate aim and denial objective of the United States government toward black people is that we must never become effectively organized. They don't outnumber us. They're just better organized. So let's get organized, brothers and sisters, so we can get free. And once again, remember these words. If you're not in the kitchen when policy and things are being made, rules and laws and ordinance, if you're not in the kitchen, you and I always wind up on the menu. And the last point I'll make to you is this. The world is run by those who show up. Stop looking at the sports section. Stop looking at the gossip section, even in our local community papers. Go and look at the legal notices. Pay attention. Because when they want to raise your water rates, if they want to build a road, if they want to change the route of your transit system, if they're going to build some public housing or tear down some public housing, in many cases, in most cases, they have to have a public notification and a public meeting. And next thing you know, because you're not paying attention, we're watching American Idol, we're watching the football game, the basketball game. We got our phone, everybody sitting at the table, all five of us sitting at the table, but ain't nobody talking to each other because we're all looking down in our phones. We're not paying attention. And so in that legal notice section in the paper or down at the courthouse, they put a notice that there's going to be a meeting, a public meeting. And once they fulfill the letter and the spirit of the law of that public notice, then you get your water bill and your light bill, and you look up and you say, wait a minute, why is my light bill going up? When did this happen? And you go there, you call your city council person, you calling your state rep, your state senator, your congresswoman, congressman, and you raising all the mayor, you raising all kind of hell. Well, they had a public meeting. They gave public notice. But you and I didn't show up. The world is run by those who show up. Unfortunately, it's a small amount of people that are making decisions for the biggest of us. Lastly, I'm saying to you, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan pointed out in his Savior's Day lecture, the last Savior's Day lecture that he gave to us, The Unraveling of a Great Nation. America is unraveling and headed towards a second civil war. And when these elephants begin to fight, we as the grass will get trampled, as that old African proverb says. When elephants fight, the grass gets trampled. What are we going to do? Are we going to unravel? Or are we going to come together and do something for ourselves? To feed, clothe, shelter, and defend ourselves. What are we going to do? We're going to keep talking, or we're going to go to work. So I put into the description the local organizing committee Zoom meeting that'll be tonight at 7 o'clock. Come on in, check it out for yourself. And then even if you're out of state, it's 7 o'clock Central Time. Even if you're out of state, just come in, pop in, listen to what we do, how we do it, how we report, and then go and take that model, because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told us at 10/11/15, after 10/10/15, the 20th anniversary of the historic Million Man March, in his suite, he told us, don't let the local organized committees die. Get organized, brothers and sisters, and learn how to work with people who don't necessarily believe what we believe, but they believe in justice and freedom. And let's bring our community together and find a way that we may fulfill what we believe in the Nation of Islam is the will of God, that we form an independent, sovereign nation for ourselves, for his glory. And as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told the Nubian Leadership Circle this past Saturday, righteousness exalts a nation. Righteousness exalts a nation. Let's build a nation of righteous people that want to do good things and believe in a sovereign, supreme power that's greater than ourselves, that we seek to please. And let's leave a legacy for our children of one that we have come together in this generation, got ourselves organized, laid the foundation, and prepared for them to build the superstructure going into the future. So may Allah bless you, brothers and sisters. May He keep you as I greet you in peace, and I pray that you have a great day. Assalamu alaikum.